Hello, this is Waniko. Thank you very much for joining us. I will now give the overview of the fiscal 2026 first quarter financial results. First, the summary. Sales increased in all segments, but overall sales decreased with the deconsolidation of automotive. By business, sales of generative AI-related businesses in industry and energy increased, in addition to increased sales of process automation and Connect. Adjusted operating profit increased overall due to increased profit in all segments, offsetting the impact of U.S. tariffs and the automotive deconsolidation. Net profit increased due to an improvement in income taxes, despite a deterioration in non-operating income and loss. Operating cash flows decreased year-on-year due mainly to the automotive deconsolidation. For the fiscal year March 2026 full-year forecast, the group-wide forecast remains unchanged. The impact of U.S. tariffs from FY March 26 Q2 onward has not been factored into the current forecast since the situation remains fluid and requires more time for careful assessment given the recent major developments. The forecasts by segment are revised for Connect and other elimination and adjustments. Now the details. For the consolidated financial results, sales decreased year-on-year by 11% to 1,896.7 billion, while sales excluding automotive increased by 2% year-on-year. Adjusted operating profit increased to 91.5 billion, operating profit increased to 86.9 billion, and net profit increased to 71.5 billion. These are results by segment. Next few slides provide the year-on-year variance analysis for sales and adjusted operating profit. First, the sales analysis by segment. In Lifestyle, sales increased on steady sales of consumer electronics, HVAC, and the electrical construction materials in Japan. In Connect, sales increased on increased sales of process automation, capturing demand for ICT and EVs in China, along with increased sales of mobile solutions, Gemba solutions, and Blue Yonder. In Industry, increased sales were driven by increased demand for information and communication applications such as generative AI servers. In Energy, sales of in-vehicle decreased due mainly to the price revisions reflecting lower raw material prices despite increased sales volume at North America factory. Sales of industrial consumer increased on continued favorable sales of energy storage systems for data centers with the expansion of the generative AI market. Within other elimination adjustments, sales of both entertainment, communication, and housing increased. Adjusted operating profit analysis by segment, adjusted OP increase, offsetting the deconsolidation of automotive. As shown in the graph above, adjusted OP increased at all segments, particularly Lifestyle and Energy. Major increase-decrease factors by segment are described on this slide. These are the results of the Lifestyle segment by divisional company. Profit increased in living appliances and solution, heating and ventilation AC, and electric work companies. Cold Chain Solutions Company posted lower sales and profit due mainly to the non-recurrence of special demand observed in the previous year. This is the year-on-year OP analysis by factor. From the left, on the basis of excluding automotive, increased sales in real terms, positive 30 billion, increase in fixed costs, negative 12 billion, including the positive effect of restructuring of 2.1 billion. The net impact of raw materials and logistics prices, positive 14.7 billion, price revisions and rationalization, positive 2.8 billion. Impact of U.S. tariffs, negative 5.8 billion, mainly affecting Energy and Connect. Blue Yonder, negative 6.5 billion on constant currency, due primarily to increase in strategic investments such as security enhancement. The effect of exchange rates, negative 6.4 billion, mainly affecting Industry and Energy. The deconsolidation impact of automotive, negative 9.6 billion, and other income and loss, negative 4.1 billion, including restructuring expenses of 2.2 billion, resulting in the operating profit increase of 3.1 billion.
This shows the cash flows and cash positions. On the left, operating cash flow for Q1 was 180.3 billion yen, with a year-on-year decrease due mainly to the deconsolidation of automotive. On the right, net cash was negative of 745.7 billion yen. Next, the consolidated financial forecast for fiscal 2026. It shows the consolidated financial forecast for fiscal 26. The group-wide forecast remains unchanged from May 9th. Since an updated assessment of the evolving situation is still needed, the impact of the U.S. tariffs from Q2 onward has not been factored into the full-year forecast, as was the case on May 9th. Next slides, I will explain the outlook of the changes in business environment and the forecast by segment. This shows the fiscal 26 business environment by segment. Changes in the business environment from the previous outlook of May 9th are written in gray. I will explain two key points. First, regarding the impact of U.S. tariffs on our businesses, Connect and Energy are relatively more affected than others. In particular, the impact is expected for implied entertainment systems under avionics in Connect, battery materials and cell under in-vehicle in Energy, and energy storage systems under industrial consumer in Energy. Second, regarding the business environment for energy for in-vehicle, our view remains unchanged about the electrification of vehicles at certain level over the long term. However, we expect a slowdown in the EV market for a short term, due mainly to the U.S. tariff policies and termination of IRA 30D tax credit. Contrary to this, for industrial consumer, the demand for energy storage system for data center is growing more than anticipated from the outlook of the May. With large-scale investment related to generative AI, I will explain the automotive battery business in North America on the next slide. This shows the trends in automotive battery sales at the factories in North America since Q4 of fiscal 23. Looking back at fiscal 25, our sales volume continued to grow each quarter, driven by our customers' appreciation for the advantages of our locally produced IRA-compliant battery cells. Following this trend, we forecasted annual sales volume of 46 gigawatt-hour for fiscal 26 in the forecast of May, giving consideration to customers' demand. However, following the rapid changes in the U.S. tariff policies, along with the announced termination of IRA 30D tax credit for EV purchases, among others, some slowdown in demand seems unavoidable from a short-term perspective. Regarding the outlook of the sales volume, fiscal 26, we are now considering whether to revise our forecast due mainly to the policy changes. However, we expect the sales volume to surpass that of fiscal 25, despite slower growth. Now, despite the announced termination of the IRA 30D tax credit for EV purchases, 45X tax credit for battery cells and module manufacturers will continue, and our locally produced IRA-compliant battery cells retain competitive edge. Also, we introduced the new cell technologies providing 5% higher capacity than the current cell at the new Kansas factory. And these are leading to the strong demand from our customers. Going forward, we will continue to pursue a business policy that aligns our growth with market and customer trends. This shows the full-year forecast by segment. In Connect, we expected to finalize the strategic capital alliance agreement for the projector and related operation when we announced the fiscal 26 full-year forecast on May 9th. However, the agreement was mutually terminated and the forecast of the Connect has been revised accordingly. For energy, as explained in the previous slide, we anticipate a slowdown in EV market in North America. On the other hand, the energy storage system for data centers, we are receiving much larger orders than expected. Recently, there have been significant developments in U.S. tariff policy, so we need a certain amount of time to quantify and assess the impact. Therefore, we have not yet revised the forecast for energy at this stage. This shows the forecast of lifestyle segment by divisional company. The forecast remains unchanged from the May 9th forecast. That concludes my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
From Bloomberg, Furukawa-san, please. Thank you. This is Furukawa from Bloomberg. Am I on? Yes. Thank you. About the in-vehicle batteries. I'm looking at slide 22. And you're talking about the Kansas factory, 32 gigawatts. And this timing is in effect being postponed compared to the previous announcement. And I would like to know the reason why. And also, can you give us a timeline going forward? And also, the Wakayama plant, the description exactly the same for 4680 from 3 months ago. Can you give us the update on that? Thank you for your questions. First, regarding the EV battery, 30 gigawatts hour, why is it postponed is your first question. I did explain that partially in my presentation, so I might be repeating myself, but due to various factors, the EV market, particularly in North America, is expected to slow down compared to our original forecast. And we want to make sure we are in line with the demand as we ramp up our production facility. So based on the very same policy that we've been adhering to, this timing has been pushed back. When will we achieve the full production is your second question. If I could repeat myself, we are currently vetting the demand. So we cannot say exactly when at this point in time, but it will be later than originally expected. Your second question regarding Wakayama factory, as for the ramp up of 4680 cell production, we are ready technically, but regarding the specification confirmation with our customers and quality confirmation, we are still in preparation, but we will be starting the shipment on schedule.
Next, Gen-san from Denka Shimbun. Yes, this is Gen from Denka Shimbun. Two major questions. First, this probably is not related to the business results, so you might not be able to answer this, but I think there was a press release for the new organization for next year. So B2C, the consumer electronics and TV company, there used to be a smart life company, and now it will be the same name, Panasonic Corporation. Could you explain the reason for that? That's my first question. And then another question, it's a very specific question about the consumer electronics. So for example, there have been some topics in relation to that. So for example, there's an enhancement of the cooking appliances, and how do you plan to do so, and what is the current situation? And there has been a lot of competition. So how much growth do you see in this business? Yes, thank you. To your first question, the press release. This is from April and onward. This is about the new organization, and we issued a press release about the names of the companies. And there used to be a smart life company, but concerning this, this would become the Panasonic Corporation. So that's included in the press release. And concerning that, I think that for the market, in order to promote our consumer electronics products, using the name Panasonic is important. And also transferring from the past, I think we want to lower the transfer cost by keeping the same name, and that would be more rational way from the cost perspective. So due to those reasons, we keep the same name, Panasonic Corporation. The second question about the TV, air conditioner, and kitchen appliances. Concerning those, Q1, the lifestyle, the page 7, actually, if you look at page 7, there are some details. And so we want to make sure that these divisional companies have achieved a higher profit. Now, about the cooking appliances, this is under the lifestyle appliance company, and the higher sales and higher profit. So this business has been recovering since last year. So this is in relation to the enhancement of the kitchen appliances. So since last year, about the size of the kitchen appliances, we have been emphasizing and focusing around the fixed costs. We have been trying to improve the strength, and we are starting to see the results of those efforts in the lifestyle business. And as for the TV and air conditioner, I can explain about the air conditioner on the same page. So this is under HVAC company. And here again, the higher sales and the higher profit were achieved, driving the overall better performance of this lifestyle segment. So concerning this, as you mentioned in your question, because of the heat wave, the room air conditioners are very active and selling well. And air to water in Europe, there has been the stagnation of the demand, and we are starting to see the good recovery. This led to the higher sales and the higher profit. And as for the environment-related engineering area, I think that we have regained the strength. So that led to the better performance for the HVAC company. As for TV, about the various reforms, including the cost reduction, we are working on that. And we are not disclosing the divisions, each division, but we are not seeing any worsening, and we are making the steady progress in this business. I see. So air conditioner in Japan, how much of the growth are you achieving? Could you talk about that, the most recent trend of the room air conditioners in Japan? Well, actually, about 120% year on year, or 20% higher than the year before, is being achieved. I see. Thank you very much.
Next is from Toyo Keizai, Umegaki-san, please. Thank you, Umegaki from Toyo Keizai. 2 questions. First, the full year forecast, the gain on the sale of projector business in Connect has been revised, and you are still looking for 50 billion yen positive for others. And I think at the last meeting, you assumed that the impact of the U.S. tariff would be about 1% on a consolidated basis. What is the update? Is it getting better or is it getting worse? And regarding the personnel HR announcement made today, you are on the board, so I think you were involved in this question. So I'm wondering why Toyoshima-san was selected as the CEO of Panasonic Corporation and Mr. Sain for other companies. So could you give us the reasons why these 2 were chosen? Thank you. Your first question, the gain on the sale of projector business, a 50 billion yen gain and 50 billion in others. That is the projection on a full year basis. And the revision in the connector segment is directly as a result in relation to the projector business. At the beginning of the year, we were incorporating that, but now that agreement has been terminated, we made the revision accordingly. As for others, 50 billion reversal, I cannot give you the specifics, but on a full year basis, we're still looking at the details. And so looking at this one case alone, we did not feel that the revision for the whole company would be warranted. As for the impact of the U.S. Tariff, initially we were saying within 1% of the full year sales revenue. And in our announcement today, we're not incorporating the impact. We are trying to get hold of what the situation is, trying to update our information almost on a daily basis. But basically, we expect the impact would be smaller. If it's just the updating on the tariff rate, maybe the impact is limited. But the question is what kind of countermeasures would be needed to address changes in the tariff rates. We feel that we have to have all these details confirmed before we make any announcement. So as we become ready to give you a more quantitative response, we'll do so. So that's my response to your first question. Secondly, regarding the announcement of the changes in President and CEO, Panasonic Holdings will be headed by Toyoshima-san and Connect by Kenneth Sain. What are the reasons is your question. As for Toyoshima-san, as you know, he was in the entertainment and communication company. He was leading that business as president. And there are many reform needs to be implemented in the Panasonic Holdings or the Panasonic Corporation. And his experience is going to be very beneficial. And he has a strong passion to lead this initiative. So that is the reason why he was chosen to lead the new Panasonic Corporation. As for Connect Company, Higuchi-san will be succeeded by Ken Sain. As you can see by looking at his CV, he has been on the board of the Connect, so he has been involved in the management, and he has been leading the avionics. And as for the avionics business results, we were suffering in pandemic, but with the proactive lineup change, the reform has been implemented under his leadership. In the avionics area, we need the integration of both hardware and software to improve the business profitability. So we're hoping that his expertise would contribute to changing our business going forward.
Thank you. Next, from Yomiuri Shimbun, we have Tabata-san. Yes, Tabata from Yomiuri Shimbun. I have two questions. First, what you announced in May, the 10,000 people personnel optimization. I'd like to know the progress so far. And once again, could you explain the aims or the purpose of that? And second is about the new organization you announced today. I'd like to know the purpose of that. And toward April next year, there was an announcement of the leaders. So about the time frame, is it moving on track? And there is also a restructuring portion, but if you can talk about those progress. Yes, understood. So first of all, in May, we announced the optimization of the personnel by 10,000, and how are we doing on that? There are different movements in Japan and abroad. As for Japan, Right now, each operating company is working on this. Depending on the needs of each operating company, they are promoting this optimization, explaining them to the unions and explaining to the employees. So we just started this plan. So concerning that, in Q3 and onwards, we would hear from all the employees. So in Q1, if you asked about the progress, so far we have not made any major progress. So please understand this as a process. As for outside of Japan, it's not something that we do at one time. So depending on each company outside of Japan, they will be moving based upon their own timings. So how many people from how many companies in which regions, I cannot say, but they are making progress earlier than Japan. So as for your second question about the purpose of the new organization and the time frame, concerning those, we will be doing various reforms and about the organization, the name of the company, and human resources. We would like to communicate that earlier than later so that we can move forward. So as a timing, I think we made this announcement at the early timing. So when you ask whether we are on track or on schedule, yes, we are proceeding as we expected or as we planned. Just one follow-up about the reduction of the headcount. Could you once again explain the aim or the purpose of that? On the 9th of May, Kusumi-san already explained this, but I think when you consider to become the sustainable company in 10 years, 20 years, and continue to develop as a company, we think that we need to make the organization leaner and look into the cost. So with such determination, we have decided to do this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope that answers your question. Next is from Nihon Keizai Shimbun, Sakamoto-san, please. Thank you, Sakamoto from Nikkei. Earlier, regarding the Panasonic Connect new president, and you gave us the reason why Mr. Sain was selected in your response to your question to a question by Toyo Keizai. So I understand why Mr. Sain, but could you explain the reason why you need to change the leadership? Thank you for your question. It's not in relation to any particular incident or event. It has to do with the term. We feel that leadership needs to change, need to rotate with a certain period. So that is the basic understanding. Higuchi-san has been leading Connect since 2017, leading the reform efforts. As you are aware, he modernized the management from culture to portfolio, the business. So he made a great impact to our company, and we are certainly appreciative of that. But it means that he's been with the company for 9 years altogether. So while we can thank his contribution so far, his achievement so far, we feel that this would be the right time to have a new leader. I see. Thank you.
Next, from Asahi Shimbun, we have Sei-san. Sei-san, are you with us? Yes, Sei from Asahi Shimbun. So for each segment, the full-year forecast, the lifestyle part, and other the income and others, it's about the minus 80 billion negative. So could you give us the breakdown of it, because it's a big number? So that's my first question. Should I go one by one? Yes, please continue your questions. I see another question on the impact of the US tariffs. So with the agreement between US and Japan, the tariffs, including the automotive, is 15%. So without an agreement, of course, it would have been 25%. It's lower than that. So with that, your impact from this, would it be smaller? Is that the correct understanding? And talking about this impact, rather than paying for the additional tariff, but whether the demand will be impacted from it. So what would be the mechanism of the impact of the US tariffs? So those are the two questions that I wanted to ask. I see. So first question about the lifestyle, the full-year forecast. Out of that, and the other income, 80 billion negative. What is the breakdown of it? There has been no any changes, so maybe same explanation. But for this fiscal year, we have been conducting the various reforms. So cost restructuring costs are included in lifestyle. So, and the second question, now that the tariff level is 25 to 15%, is the impact from it going to be smaller? Yes, at 15%, the impact would be smaller. And how would that actually impact us? There are direct impact and indirect impact. So I think that there would be larger direct impact. So when we say direct impact, so going through the customs and by moving those products, there will be direct the tariffs to be imposed. So that portion, as I mentioned earlier, if we do not do anything, that will hit our profit and loss numbers directly. But we'd like to make sure that as we mentioned at the beginning of the fiscal year, we will discuss with the customers about the price policy so that the customer would pay certain level of the burden so that we can minimize the impact. So that's what we are trying to do. As for the indirect tariff, so for example, the US as a whole, the economy becoming worse. And because of that, the demand for our products coming down indirectly. So whether the economy struggled because of the tariff or not, it's very difficult to discern. So as we explain, mainly we explained about the direct impact rather than the indirect impact. Thank you.
I'm afraid we're running out of time for the journalist questions, so we will only take just one more question from the journalist. Kawajima-san from Sankei Shimbun, please. Looks like there is a technical problem with our system. Kawajima-san, can you speak? Yes, can you hear me? Yes, we apologize for the inconvenience. Please go ahead. Thank you. A related question to the last question regarding the tariff impact. Now that the tariff rate has been agreed to 15%, impact will be smaller than what you originally expected. And as your material indicates, mostly avionics and connect and energy, I understand. For energy, for example, production in Japan, example, batteries for EVs. I suppose that export portion is rather limited. So I'm wondering if you can make any comments related to that. Do you have your second question or just one question? Just one question. I see. Thank you. Thank you for your question. Let me try to respond. Especially the impact of tariff on energy business. What is the volume of our business of export from production in Japan to U.S. market? As I explained in my presentation, for the in-vehicle battery and industrial and consumer data center business, those are the businesses that we're in. Production in Japan to be exported to U.S. For in-vehicle, it's mainly manufactured in Nevada plant in the U.S., and therefore the impact is more in relation to the components and materials, and therefore not much impact on those that are produced in Japan to be exported to the U.S. But for that is as far as the in-vehicle batteries are concerned. But for industrial and consumer batteries, the energy storage system, we are manufacturing cells mostly in Japan to be exported to the U.S. And so impact is going to be rather sizable if you just look at industrial and consumer. I see. Thank you. So with that, we conclude questions from the journalists.
Now we'd like to take questions from analysts and investors. We are taking questions only in Japanese. From Goldman Sachs Securities, we have Harada-san. Yes, Harada speaking from Goldman Sachs. Thank you. Two questions. The first question is about the Blue Yonder. After adjustment and also excluding the forex impact, the profit is down. So could you explain the reasons and also the environment of this industry? Second question is about the industry. So here, I think we are seeing better improvements, but content of it, Gen AI related, is the major driver. Is that right? And FA and others are also improving. The structure reform, from that perspective, I think that there are some issues with those businesses. So whether there will be some impact from them. Thank you for your two questions about the Blue Yonder, first of all. As we showed you the numbers, Q1 profit from the year before, there has been slight decline. And concerning that, the industry as a whole, I think you asked about that. And the industry as a whole, I think there has been some strength. And our specific reason for us, the strategic investment, especially in the area of the security, we mentioned that we are making the investment, and that led to the smaller profit. But as for the strategic investment, 3 years, we will be making steady progress. So SaaS, cloud-based products, for this fiscal year, we'll be launching many ones. So we plan to do so. So more recently, for the new launch of the product, we are getting the very strong inquiries, and our pipeline is growing. So in the second half and onwards, I think that our top line will recover from it. So that's about the Blue Yonder. Second, about the industry. Yes, we are seeing the good improvements, as you commented. And there are different reasons. But as you mentioned, the generative AI-related device business are growing and pushing our revenue. I think that is the major factor. In relation to FA, we have a site in China, And rather than having the major improvement, we are improving in a steady manner. So we are seeing such trend from last year toward this year in FA business. And as for the electronic device, well, it's included in the electronic device business, so it's difficult to separate. So not everything is going very well, but automotive-related devices, we continue to struggle since last year. So in industry, of course, there are some areas that we need to reform. And since last year, we have recognized that. So we don't want to mix everything together. When there are some issues, the businesses with issues, we would like to continue to take initiatives. Thank you. So about Blue Yonder, so adjusted EBITDA, excluding the strategic investment, it's still negative. So could you explain this further? Well, adjusted EBITDA, excluding the strategic, last year there was an acquisition of one network. And so in Q2, we made that acquisition. So in Q1, we did not have that. So after the acquisition or through the acquisition, there have been various cost, depreciation costs and amortization. So aside from the strategic investment, those have been the negative factors based upon the year-on-year comparison. I see. So the actual business is not getting worse, excluding those factors. Thank you. That's all the questions that I had.
Thank you. Next, from JP Morgan, Ueda-san, please. Thank you. Ueda from JP Morgan. I have two questions as well. First is on energy, the forecast for this fiscal year. You did not revise your forecast. And what will be the nuance of the background? There is a slight downturn risk for in-vehicle, but currently you assume that that could be made up for with data center business. Or is it that because you're still verifying the impact on in-vehicle, you did not revise the forecast? Which is it? And also, in relation to the data center applications, I think maybe was 1.5 times. But for the second half, it looks like you are keeping that forecast. But if it's doing better, what is the upside, is my question. And another question is in relation to the tariff impact. You said less than 1% on the annual basis. Are you talking about the gross amount, or are you talking about within 1%, including the effect of the countermeasures? For the first quarter, the impact was negative 5.8 billion. Is that on a gross basis? Is my last question. Thank you. Regarding the energy forecast, in-vehicle is trending downward, while data center energy storage business is on the upward trend, as I mentioned earlier. What we did not clearly state in our presentation is whether those are going to offset each other, or is it that we are taking much time trying to figure out the situation? And the answer would be the latter. In other words, we're not still clear as for what the impact is going to be. And of course, there's always the offsetting nature in our businesses. If one business is doing better, the other would be covered by that. So the state of sense of balance is very important. For example, the termination of 30D IRA tax credit was only announced this month, so we have yet to really analyze what the impact is going to be. And as for data center review, you said that that 1.5 times has not been updated or is not reflected. Here again, we're still looking at the details, so we can't say exactly what is the scope of the increase at this point in time. But as I said, the order inquiry is much larger than what we had anticipated at the beginning of the year, but we're trying to quantify exactly how much. And as for the tariff impact, gross or net is your question. The answer is it's on a net basis. Gross calculations, if we just multiply by the tariff rate, then we can give you the answer immediately. But in addition to that, we have to take actions to make a recovery. And we feel that all those need to be clarified before we can give you an explanation. And therefore, we are trying to speak on a net basis, which includes the recovery effect as the full year forecast. And that is true for 5.8 billion for the first quarter as well. I see. Thank you.
Next, from SMBC Nikko, Katsura-san. Thank you. This is Katsura speaking. I have two questions. First is about Connect, the projector business. So this time joint venture started in April, but it was terminated. So once again, what are you going to do about this business? And what are your views as of now? That's my first question. As for the numbers, the technical sales is 65, and then it came back, and after the adjustment, it hasn't changed. So it's down to 0. And the 50 billion, the gain on sale was excluded. I think that's how it is explained. So from including the organizational change of the Panasonic Corporation, how should we understand the positioning of this business? And after this making the announcement, it was terminated. And so maybe it has to do with the conditions with the ORIX. And the reason why you made this decision, I'd like to know the reasons. The second question is about energy. On slide 13, I think. Earlier, I think that the review has not been changed, and the automotive hasn't changed. So it's unchanged. But as an understanding of the environment compared to 3 months ago, in terms of magnitude, so how do you see the environment right now? I think they are positive and negative. So the performance of the Q1, or you can talk about in comparison to the expectation, and I'm sure it's difficult to talk about the full year, but if you can talk about the first quarter. Okay, so the first question about the projector business deal. Why did we end this or terminate this? So it was a very difficult decision to make. And as for the background, last fiscal year in the first half, we made this deal and we reached an agreement and we made an announcement to you. That was the beginning. And then after that, spending 6 months, finally, we decided to terminate this. So during the 6 months, what were the changes that we saw? Overall market conditions quickly deteriorated. And because of this, the projector business last year in the first half. Compared to that, I think that the business environment and the performance expectation became very tough. And the projector business, we do have a big business in North America, and there has been the impact from the tariff, and there have been a lot of quick changes, and this was a headwind for this project. And of course, that when it is not as simple as terminating the deal because of the changes in the environment. So to what extent was the environmental reason? To what extent was our own reasons? If we talk about the details, it would be very difficult to separate those two. But of course, that with our partner, there were some differences of the views, and we had the thorough discussion with them. But as I said, who is responsible for how much? It's difficult to draw the line quantitatively. So the negotiation of the deal to linger it, of course, that from April, the projector people were determined to start this business, and we, rather than continuing with this discussion, we wanted to make a decision so that we can move forward as a company. So that's why it was a very difficult decision for us to make. And so as a segment in Connect, so we made a revision to the impact that we expected at the beginning of the fiscal year. Second question, including page 13, the EV battery, and including the performance of the Q1. There are several things, but as I explained earlier, compared with our expectations, the recent trend, our forecast of the sales have softened or weakened somewhat. And based upon the Q1 results, well, we do disclose that, and we are showing that in this on this page. So 10.1 gigawatt was the production sales in Q1. So compared with a year before, 1.4 gigawatt higher in revenue and in profit. So this 10.1 gigawatt level, the startup of the Kansas, if it starts up steadily, then the 46 gigawatt hour was not difficult, but we needed to make a modification to that. So what would be the size of the modification? We are currently scrutinizing that. We are not showing the numbers right now, but the volume would be higher than the year before. So that would be within what we expected. So fiscal 25 graph, if you look at that graph or line, our strategic partners, their car sales were stagnant last fiscal year, and each quarter we try to increase the production and sales position, and we achieved that. And as we explained since the past, the total demand of the vehicle, rather than that, we wanted to manufacture and sell those products locally, and that was highly valued from our customer, and our share increased. So I think that there has been a little gap between the vehicle side and also our product side. And a comparative advantage that we have, IRA 30D is going to be terminated, but the 45X will continue. And this is a major thing for the local production manufacturer. And in addition, Kansas, the mass production, it's 2170, it's the same cell, and we have a higher capacity. As I mentioned, it's 5% higher, so technology is more evolved. So those are the cells that we manufacture in Kansas, and we are getting a very strong inquiry from the customers to provide the cells early. And of course that our customers need to evolve their cars. So as a partner, we are cooperating and to start up the Kansas. So having the continuous incentives and also our technology and capacity being accepted, and we are getting a strong inquiry. So it would be slower than what we expected originally, but the volume would be higher than the year before. So that's the kind of the current understanding of the recent movement. Thank you.
Thank you. We are getting close to the end time, so we will only take 2 more questions, one each from 2 people. Nakane-san from Mizuho, please. Thank you. Am I on? Yes. One question, okay. Connect. Mr. Singh is going to be the new president. He's from avionics and not Blue Yonder Gemba Solution. So looks like they are very far. So including the plan to list the Blue Yonder share, should we assume that everything, all the strategies would be considered on a from scratch, in other words, without any prior notice? And also next year, in April, he is going to be the president. Would there be any chance for us to meet him in advance? Thank you for your question. Yes, Connect will be headed by a new person. Would there be any changes to the policy and strategy of Blue Yonder? No, we're not going to change Blue Yonder strategy. The company under the new leadership is going to continue with the conventional policy on Blue Yonder. Now, before next April, would there be any opportunity for you to meet Mr. Singh? Well, we are making this announcement rather early on. And so we would like to make sure that there is sufficient preparation, ramp up being made before April. So all this preparation would proceed. I see. Thank you.
Last question. From Citigroup Global Markets, we have Ezawa-san. Thank you. This is Ezawa speaking. Thank you very much. One question about the project related and also the management as a whole. I'd like to hear from Waniko-san. Now, project at the very end, I think this was a major matter because you were unable to sell this. So structural reform is something that you have been working on and you're proceeding with it. And in relation to that, maybe selling this business even at loss would have been better as a third party. So what you are focused upon as a management team, is it changing slightly? So looking at the business performance this time, Blue Yonder, the performance is not very good. And the Higuchi-san, who have been leading, is now going to resign. And the batteries, I think there has been some activities, good and bad. So the consolidated the guidance or remains the same as of now. So it seems that the quality of the management is being questioned, frankly speaking. So aside from the short-term results, the improvement of the management structure and the enhancement, if you can mention something, some changes that you can expect, or some views, or plans, something that you can talk about now. Thank you. About the projector, this is something that we have been working on, and at the very end, it was terminated. And of course, we have to make the overall group reform, and we not doing as we mentioned, and we are not changing our attitude at all. And as a result, this project business was terminated. But this was, again, as I said, was an extremely difficult decision for me. So if I am to explain each details of the background, of course, that's not suitable for us to do because there is a partner. And the situation becoming worse, and it was not an easy decision for us. So once again, you mentioned that we should have probably considered the lower price. And we actually repeated the negotiations many times. And in our board meeting, we did discuss this. But at the very end, we had to make a decision. And what do we choose? And as I said, those employees who were willing to work, we wanted to make sure that they can move forward. And we needed to make a decision for that. So the quality of the management changing, maybe you had such image. So that is not the case, and we are working on this reform for this fiscal year, and we will continue to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. With this, we conclude the earnings briefing for the first quarter of the fiscal year ending March 2026. Thank you very much for your participation.